Come on, man.
It's
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday!
Why, yes, it is. Now my ears don't have to get blown out. I still have to figure out to make that more like a NASCAR pit stop where with the sound that has to get jacked up in the system, and I don't want to blow my ears out. So I've got to take the headphones off, turn that off, put the headphones back where they're supposed to be, and start things up. It's another go-around on Friday. It's a Freestyle Friday here on SDH. John here, you there. We got to preview the weekend, and we got a bunch of different ways to do it. We got some stuff that we got to talk about from yesterday. GHSA Finals. There was a lot of action that went longer than 80 minutes. We've got your highlights, and we got a lot of them. And we had a lot of matches go to PKs yesterday. Soccer is in session. Playoff Daily Live. The last show of the season comes up at noon. We're going to hear from Jason Page, the head coach at Walton, on the girls' side and find out about their win. Let's see if he has, in fact, recovered. And also, we're going to hear from Lake Oconee Academy, and we're going to hear from Tyler Mayer, the one of the coaches there on the boys' side, as LOA got the win over Atkinson County. We've got highlights there as well. Might be played here, might be played at noon, might be both. And we're also efforting Troy Connolly from Campbell for the noon show. He's got an orthodontist appointment. And so he waited until the end of the season to have the orthodontist appointment. He's having that this morning. We're supposed to remind him that he's supposed to be on the show. So 12:30 and beyond to buy him some time to come away from the orthodontist, and hopefully the Novocaine will have worn off by then. So at noon, Walton, LOA, Campbell. SDH bump is real, by the way. And we'll have that as part of a Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live. We'll go over the brackets, and we will break it all down for the last day of competition for high school soccer here in 2025. And by the way, I've talked about occasionally, and I guess this is somewhat of an opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I guess I will show the QR code just to let everybody see that you can start your day off with that QR code right there. And our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You hit that QR code, you go to Kickoff Coffee, you buy the store out, but you can buy it at 15% off because if you use the code Soccer Down Here 15, you get a 15% discount. They in turn take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives that they think is cool at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Jason came up with the master schedule back in mid-January for all of us in all of our different leagues and opportunities that we have here to talk about the beautiful game on a daily basis. We got through page 1, and this is from basically mid-January until decision day, October 18th. It is 4 pages of locations. 4 pages of locations. We are finally getting to the end of page 2. Getting to the end of page 2. And that's because of everything that we've done on the high school side. I think we've tripled our schedule on the high school side. And we now have Atlanta United and it's USL League 2 and US and all the other places. And we also have coming up the activity in the WPSL, which is going to get underway, I think, next weekend. So you have all of that going on. It is a 4-page schematic. And we are just getting to the bottom of page number 2. But it's been fun to get to this particular point of the season. So it is, it's been an adventure so far, and the adventure is only in mid-May. We might have other guests in hour number 2, by the way. So that's why I'm killing time. So there you go. It's the end of the high school season yesterday. Jarrett and I got to call the matchups at McEachern. Mateen Rod called the matchups at Mercer-Macon. Maddie and Jason called the matchups at Duluth. And so we'll get into that a little bit. Walton won in PKs over Buford on the girls' side. Campbell with the upset of the day, knocking off number 1 Grayson on the boys' side. Then it was BT winning on the girls' side. It was Westminster winning on the boys' side in quad. And it was LOA beating Atkinson County on the boys' side. And that one took more than 80 minutes. And it was a great season for everyone down there in Pearson. And it was a win for LOA 3-1 in extra sessions. And Atlanta Classical beat Lake Oconee Academy 2-1 on the girls' side. And so that was where we ended up with those championships. And like I said, we got one more day of championships. We'll get into that at noon on Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. I always forget where the bracket, where the tombstone is, and so I have to kind of pull my arm in to figure it out. But right there, that's GHSA activity. We'll have that coming up at noon. We'll talk about it. We talked about it a little bit here, but what we'll do is we'll talk about it more at noon with guests and things. Ooh, Rich Ransom, look at you. Who's picking him up from the airport tomorrow morning? Good question. Morning Badger. Glad that you guys are hanging out here this morning. So, morning Will, 1 versus 2 in the East. That is there. And so Will with the public service announcement about MARTA. So go to the stadium, switch to the blue or the green. So basically take the MARTA line north, then take it 1 stop or 2 west. And then you can end up right there at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I think that's what Will is getting to, Rich. You can take MARTA, and as much as you would like to have the camaraderie of conversations inside an automobile, literally, yes, you can hop on right at the airport for the MARTA line, head north, go to 5 Points, take 1 or 2 stops, either stop at the World Congress Center station or stop at Vine City, or whichever. I think Vine City is the second one. So World Congress Center, or go 1 more. You're right there at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So whichever one is closest to Lot 17, it might be the World Congress Center station, because that gets you out right at State Farm Arena. You get to walk, and then you're in Lot 17 and get to hang out with folks. So that might be – I know, it does sound like a lot of work. I know. And especially, when when you fly in and you're trying to get your bearings and everything. So Rich is coming, and that's a very good thing. So we'll break down Atlanta United. We'll hear from Matt Edwards. If we have the time later on in the show. Matt Edwards was catching up with Jason after the match in Austin, and it's about 3 minutes, and it's definitely worth your time, as Atlanta United got the point in Austin, and now they have the opportunity to do the same kind of a thing at home against Philadelphia. So right now, I debated getting into like morning news and things. Then it's all good, and it's interesting to see how things evolve. And let's see. So Scott Snyder, I'm booking guests here. Coach, yes, you can. And so, all right. So Scott Snyder might be joining us from Westminster at 12:30. So nothing like juggling 2 shows at once. Anyway, I came across this story, and this is from our buddy Ben Jacobs, otherwise known as Jacobs Ben on the Twitters. And we all should be so lucky. But, I mean, this comes across as, I don't know how you would phrase it, perhaps adventurous. So Chelsea has a relationship for the remainder of the season with Damac on the front of their jerseys. And Chelsea and Damac are now getting into the football-themed branded residences. So, if you wanted to just live, breathe, eat the sport that we talk about on a daily basis, you now could do it if you're a Chelsea fan through their relationship with Damac. I guess that's how you pronounce it, Damac. So Chelsea and Damac, the property developer, they have unveiled plans for 4 130-meter skyscrapers in Dubai's Maritime City. Chelsea-branded skyscrapers in Maritime City in Dubai. So 130 meters. Convert to feet is what I'm looking for. So 100, no, I wanted 130 meters, not 100. So 130 meters tall, converting to feet. Convert 130 meters to feet and inches. So it is a 426-foot tall building. So that's what, 40 stories maybe? 35, 40 stories. So it's 4 35 to 40-story buildings that DAMAC and Chelsea are branding with one another. It is a billion-dollar-plus development, first of its kind, due to open in 2029 as part of a new partnership that also sees DAMAC appear once again in front of the shirt sponsor. We talked about that till the end of the season. Amira Sajwani talked to our buddy Ben Jacobs. People often ask me how the partnership started, and it's actually a funny story. Short answer is that Chelsea's my husband's favorite team. He's a gung-ho fan, and that's where the idea originated from. Long answer is we wanted a football partnership, soon realized Chelsea was an incredible partner. All started off on a much smaller scale and grew very quickly, given our relationship with the club, how much we admired their style of working. One of our long-standing strategies has been to focus on wellness, and this partnership ties into that. Proud of the unique project, first football club branded residence in the world. Chelsea president Jason Gannon had a couple of sentences. Residential development has a Chelsea lion by its main entrance and features 1,400 sea-facing homes starting from around half a £1,000,000 each. 4 of these are penthouses, each themed around a different Blues legend. Yes, I'd like the John Terry Chelsea penthouse suite, the Chelsea penthouse apartment residence. How do you personify that? Yes, I'd like the John Terry residence, please. Is the floor kind of sandpapery? Is the water, is the water come at you out of the showers? Is it not massage based, and it's like one of those shower heads that just kind of comes at you, like somebody's throwing rocks? Now, how does that John Terry residence work? I'd love to know, first off, who the legends are in the 4 penthouses at Maritime City in Dubai, and if the suite or the penthouse actually does personify the legend that it's named after. Do you have the Wayne Rooney penthouse? I'm not pursuing that one any further. I figured the John Terry penthouse probably is just mad at you the entire time. It's rounded corners, or it's tight corners, and you end up kicking the legs on sofas and tables because everything is in such tight quarters. Makes you really frustrated. There's a Chelsea sports bar, special captain's table events where guests can fine dine with former Chelsea players. And according to Ben, as he writes it, a stunning rooftop football pitch, athlete performance center, aerial yoga studio, so you're doing yoga in the air, residence cinema room, and aquarium lounge. There's even an infinity pool surrounded by blue sand, and every time Chelsea scores, the towers light up. God, the neighbors. Sajwani says, as Chelsea fans say, we want the residences to bleed blue. We've worked very hard with Chelsea to ensure we really ingrain their identity into this project. The key is for it to be authentic, so it's not just a branded residence for the sake of being branded. DAMAC has done branded properties before: Fendi, Versace, Paramount Studios, Roberto Cavalli. Big fans of collaboration. Football pitch on the roof. What happens if the ball goes over the fence? You're playing a game of pickup. You're on the roof at Chelsea Tower. You've just come out of the John Terry penthouse to go play at the pickup game at Chelsea Tower, and somebody leans back just a bit too much, sends the ball over the 35th floor penthouse, What happens when that thing picks up speed and gravity takes over? I pray to God none of you have a car near Maritime City. Maybe you put a net up top just to prevent it, but then somebody's going to want to try to do their Isaac McAdoo and power the ball as quickly as humanly possible past it and through the netting. But I just have this vision like on day one when somebody's trying to do the run through of the whole thing. You're showing off to all the media that are assembled there, and hey, we're up here at the football stadium. We're up here on the football pitch on the roof at Chelsea Acres. You lean back, and somebody would want to do it. Somebody's going to lean back just a bit too much, and they're going to kick it over the fence, and it's just going to go off into the distance in Maritime City. I mean, it's got to be assumed risk, right? If you're driving around Maritime City and somebody kicks a ball over the fence at the Chelsea rooftop pitch, at Chelsea Acres, and it hits your car and dents your car, I mean, I don't think you necessarily would have an issue having it repaired because you probably could afford it even if it was assumed risk, but still. Oh, boy. Gym is being built collaboratively with Chelsea since we want our residents or guests to be able to train in an elite environment, and our spa will have some treatments on offer to Chelsea players at Cobham. And they're going to open a museum honoring Chelsea players past and present. There'll be a football simulator, kind of like the ones you see in golf. Fans can improve their skills. As for the 4 Chelsea Legend-branded penthouses, we will announce which players they will focus on in due course. Current agreement with Damac lasts only till the end of the campaign for the front of the shirt. 7-figure deal. They debuted in the Conference League semi against Djurgårdens. Also covers Chelsea women. So Chelsea's women, when they won their 6th straight WSL title, first under Sonia Bonpastor. Chelsea can add further silverware when they face Manchester United in the FA Cup final at Wembley. Men's team have the Conference League final against Real Betis and Wrocław, Poland on the 28th. Chelsea are working on securing a new long-term front of shirt sponsor for at least £45 million a season. And by the way, Alexis Ohanian bought like 8% of Chelsea women, and it was valued at $20 million. Nothing agreed ahead of 25-26, which is why the club released a blank new home kit on Friday. Positive talks with multiple airline companies and at least one technology company. Damac was intended to be short-term, a way of using empty real estate in a way that suits both parties. Door is not shut on extending. A lot more planned with the club. Damac is ready to go. Launched events in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Cairo, and Stamford Bridge. Chelsea is viewed as a long-term partner. Involvement with Chelsea is a welcome revenue boost. Pod Bowley and Bowley Clear Lake, well aware of the value given his Kane International company specializes in the property sector, manages over £12 billion in assets. For Damac, the partnership allows Chelsea once again to raise their profile. ROI, return on investment, comes from the fact that Dubai is one of the most booming property markets in the world. Chelsea residences are expected to sell out fast. So if you are a Chelsea fan and you've got that kind of scratch and you just want to sit there and get like a studio apartment or a studio condo at Maritime City in Dubai, which has a lovely picture, by the way. It looks like it might be 30 stories by 4. But you too could be in the John Terry penthouse suite at the Damac residence at Maritime City in Dubai. I'm just saying. I mean, could you imagine if we had those kinds of things with other franchises? It wouldn't surprise me if Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment tried to do something like that with Toronto FC. I mean, because they tried to model everything after the Maple Leafs this, Maple Leafs that. You could see something like that in Toronto. The Giovinco penthouse. You get the Michael Bradley penthouse. I'm trying to think, for say, I'm trying to think of a difficult situation here where you tried to come up with 4 club legends to have the opportunity here domestically. I mean, I'm trying, and then there are so many sidebars that could go with it. If you tried something like that here in the States, Robert Kraft tries to do something with New England, and he does it there off of that exit in Foxborough. Something with Alexi Lawless, and it's painted in red. That's all it is. It's just red paint on the inside. You can't change it. Carlos Heel, something like, you'd end up with Carlos Heel, Alexi Lawless, Bruce Arena. Try and think of your favorite club, and if your favorite club had these kinds of penthousey suites, who it would end up being in each of those penthouses, like on the 35th floor. Who it would be for who would have the most difficult time filling out 4 suites? That would be the biggest question I have. Who would have the most difficult time filling out 4 suites at the top of 4 35-foot buildings to sit there and have these themed ideas? I'm just saying. I mean, with Leicester, it'd be like Jamie Vardy, and that'd be about it. Southampton, it'd be just empty. I mean, and I'm fairly certain that with Major League Soccer, you probably wouldn't have an issue trying to fill it up. And if you went back further with like Vancouver, you could go back into the Linarduzzi's and things like that. I don't know if there would be like one franchise that would have a problem. Well, maybe Austin. Austin might have a problem filling stuff out. But they're young. Give them time. So that would be domestically, I don't think that you'd have a couple of teams that might have a problem, but other than that, I think you'd be okay. Overseas, it would be pretty easy to fill them out. Southampton would be a problem. Leicester would be a problem. I'm trying to think of, Crystal Palace would have Wilf Zaha. Then he probably would complain about it. But no, it's nothing surprises me when you can attach your brand to something and you could sit there and go, hey, look, kids. But that would be just, how much is too much? How much legitimately is too much in a situation like that? Where everything, it's like the room that you had when you were a kid. And your favorite posters are everywhere. And your favorite players are everywhere. And it's a paint job. And it's logos. And it's everything. I mean, I could imagine that might be a cool short-term thing. But then if you couldn't change the paint, and if you had like Chelsea logos inside the John Terry penthouse, and you wanted to rearrange the logos, you probably couldn't do it. You probably on like page 17, paragraph D, subsection 2, all adjustments to residents must be approved by the residential board. And John Terry himself is on the residential board there at the Chelsea Towers. Well, how about if I want to do this? No. And he body checks you across the table. It's a hard foul. No whistle or card. Then John Terry pulls out the contract and he shows you page 17. He says, right here, you can't change it without approval, and I don't give you approval to change my suite. You want to change the Wayne Rooney suite around a little bit? Wayne Rooney sitting across the table from you. That's probably the problem that you would have in that case. Is that you would have whomever legend is attached to that legend's penthouse suite, they would have to be in on the negotiating process if you wanted to change things around. You want to change the paint? No. You want to rearrange the furniture? No. I mean, literally, they probably have it like marked on the floor like they do a stage play. It's like it has to be in these positions and all this kind of stuff. So the Chelsea legend that you buy the penthouse suite for, it's like neon. It's like wandering into a Chelsea sports bar, and it's like neon Chelsea signs everywhere. And then they pop on. They have their own timers, and you can't change the timers. 8:00 in the morning, the Chelsea neon sign in your den turns on, and you're going. You're trying to figure out which remote changes it, and none of it turn it off, or if it does, it's instantaneous and it pops back on. You're sitting there and you're doing on off with Chelsea logos and neon in your John Terry branded Chelsea penthouse. Maybe there's a Fernando Torres. Maybe there's a Wayne Rooney. Maybe there's one with all of the managers, and your decor just kind of switches out every couple of months or every season or so. Yes, I'd like the De Matteo penthouse suite, please. We don't offer that. That's down on the second floor. The Jose Mourinho one. Could you imagine the Jose Mourinho marketed penthouse at Chelsea Acres? It's it looks really good for the first 2 years, and then when you're there for the third year, everything just kind of goes downhill. The plumbing goes away. You're having to replace shower rods and plumbing and appliances and everything. Chelsea Acres. That's what you're getting. Chelsea Acres. Woo-ha! If you have extra money in Dubai and you just want to get to Chelsea Acres, and you could have the Jose Mourinho branded penthouse suite, and he'd do it too. The John Terry branded suite. The Wayne Rooney branded suite. Who would the fourth one be? Fernando Torres? Or just the rotating managers themselves? The rotating managers. That would be the way. It is time to stop talking about penthouse suites involving Chelsea neon, because it's time to catch up with our buddy Greg Garza, and we'll find out what's going on with Beyond Goals Mentoring, and we will ask Greg. So how many cups of coffee are you on, sir?
This is my second one.
Okay. So when you get up in the morning, do you start with coffee, or do you kind of get into your day like with exercise and such, or does it just like bang?
I wake up, go straight downstairs, and the cup is already ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you set that up before you go to bed, yeah?
I already have my pod on my Nespresso, and yep.
Man.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like pre-ready. All I gotta do is press down, turn it on.
Wow. You were a braver man than I. What I wanted to start off with this week is, you and Jason and I have all talked about the pressures of work, and trying to snap out of that is probably one of the most difficult things, regardless of what business you're in. And I would imagine that with the pressures that you put on yourself, warranted or otherwise, being incredibly self-conscious about wanting to succeed in whatever your work is, that we don't know what we don't know a lot of the time when it comes to the pressures that we have, that others may not see in ourselves. When you have conversations with fellow adults, with parents, with mentees, how do you address the idea of making sure that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to navigate, and it's okay to ask for help in these situations? How do you navigate those conversations? Because I would imagine a couple of years ago, it was probably a more delicate topic than it might be now.
Yeah. I think with the word pressure, right? It's like you want. I don't think there's in a professional environment, you almost want to always feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't think what podcast? I don't know if it was a podcast or like a motivational video that I watched a few years ago, but it's just talking about living in the uncomfortable. That as an entrepreneur, or as a professional athlete, as somebody who wants to build off something that they have, then you have to be willing and have the desire to always be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment you feel comfortable is when that relaxation or that complacency starts to happen, and that's something that you definitely don't want within especially within sports. If you are achieving greatness within sports, then hopefully you can still have the ability to continue to apply that pressure towards you. It's like I try and tell my kids that just remember that somebody else is doing more than you every single day. Somebody else is doing more than you, and if you can kind of train your brain to think like that, then I think you're almost applying that goodness of what pressure can be. But pressure is an interesting one because I feel like it can it can make you crumble as well. Um, it, it's interesting. I mean, you say pressure. I mean, it's the obvious reason of like what AU is going through right now. That's they're going through a lot of pressure. Um, and I feel like whenever I was in Cincinnati and had a catastrophical 2 seasons there, it was almost very similar. It was like you had this pressure going into the game to just try to not lose,
Yeah.
and that was the pressure that you were dealing with, and that was like it was almost contagious around the locker room of like feeling this ultimate huge immense amount of pressure thinking about if we lose, how much more pressure is going to build on top of that. I had a really good goalie in Tijuana whenever we were fighting for relegation. He would always say, you'd always say just and maybe in a more positive way, but we were fighting for relegation, and he would think about all we have to do is just not lose today. If we focus on that, then maybe we take a little bit of that way of way of not feeling as much pressure. And I know a little bit of what I just said right now is contradicting to what I just said about maybe what others feel or go through. But I guess there's just different ways and methods that you can look at it.
And that's, and I think that it's key for anyone of any age, adult in the in the workforce, student athlete that wants to try and apply something. There's the academic pressure that you're attached to. There's the athletic pressure that you're attached to. And I would imagine that in some spaces, it's far more difficult to navigate and embrace the suck, for lack of a better word. And I would imagine that it's almost a staring contest, I would think, with student athletes or with anybody else that's in this kind of a situation. You're the suck is staring right at you, and you have two choices. And for you to take that first step to sit there and understand that you've got to push through all of the negative and understand that it can be a positive on the other side. I would imagine that first step, and in those conversations about encouraging that first step, is probably some of the toughest conversations that you could ever have.
Yeah, most definitely. It's not easy. It's not easy to get out of certain instances or situations. But I think that's what, like Mike and I, we always talk about that resiliency piece, right? That resiliency is building that tough mindset and understanding that life is. Just had a unique conversation with a young man last night, who was scared to tell me that he's quitting soccer. He's a junior, rising senior, and has played at a high level for a long time. Dedicated his whole life to soccer, and going into his senior year, I've been speaking to him for probably the last 2 to 3 years. He was afraid to tell me that he was quitting soccer.
Huh.
And I feel like, ultimately what I tell these kids is that why would you feel pressure to tell me that you're quitting soccer? It's like I'm not doing something that is like making you starve within your day or putting a gun to your head to tell you something. I want these kids to feel confident when they do make a decision and not feel that immense amount of pressure. And I think sometimes a lot of people, they allow that external pressure to speak greater volumes than maybe their own consciousness. And I think that like really good professional athletes or people who are at the top of what they do, they are able to block out all of that external pressure of what anybody else thinks or what anybody else may believe in them. And I think they're almost like this alter ego that you have in terms of try and just focusing on yourself. And I think last night having that conversation with that young man was just helping him understand that, like, whatever decision you make, don't allow that external pressure of what others may believe be something that affects you internally and externally. So it's once again, like I said, the pressure and things people go through is, it's all subjective, right? It's all different on how we get through certain things. But as long as you can use those instances or situations as lessons and teachings and experiences to help you later on in life.
Well, I would also imagine that, as we're growing up in those impressionable teenage years, that you don't want to let those around you down for that early investment that they made in your life. There's that's that sense of attachment and responsibility of like, well, these folks have done all of this for me. I don't want to let them down, even though it may not be something that I enjoy anymore. There's that first real conversation that you have with yourself about, I'm not having fun anymore, or I want to do other things and I don't want to pursue this anymore. But it's like, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but I think that you might end up hurting them more if you're not honest with them about how you feel about something.
Most definitely. I think it is like absolutely essential for kids and people to understand that no matter what their decision is, they have an immense amount of support around them, right? I think that's what being a parent is. That's what being a mentor is. That's what being a coach is. Helping kids understand that no matter what they go through, they have a good support system, whatever their decision may be. The one word that I told the kid not to use last night, and I was like, don't ever use that word again. What was the word regret?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a strong word to use. I was like, in life, you can ask for forgiveness, you can ask for all these different things, whatever it might be, to the higher being or whatever you believe in. But man, using the word regret is like such a strong, I regret making this decision, or I regret doing this. You never want that. So walking him through last night, that was like his only question of, if I do this, will I regret not playing my senior year? And I just told him, man, that's something for you to really, really think about, because the last thing you want to do is 10 years from now look back at it and be like, man, I regretted not being with my friends just one more time. That's like the last thing you want with quitting something or letting go of something, I think.
How hard is it in your travels and conversations with peers? How hard is it to let go of a career path and understand that, it's time? How hard is it to let go when you've invested so much into something?
I think for all of us athletes, it's like, I explain to people like life and death. It's like you're being reborn again. There's a part of you. There's definitely a part of you that dies. Honestly, there's a part of you that dies the second you hang up your boots, and trying to find something that can animate your life. Bring yourself to life again. I think is extremely important. That transition can take some time, and we've had good friends, even Atlanta United friends, that have gone through retirement and have been in those moments of, sometimes depression or trying to figure out what the heck their life is going to be, since they've dedicated so much time. But it is extremely hard to let go of something. I think even for these kids who have dedicated a long time to doing something that they love, and like you said, feeling almost responsible because of how much their parents have sacrificed or paid for or done for them. It's definitely a hard transition. But once you find something that you enjoy and you love, and it have that desire to do it, I think that makes it all so much easier.
And in looking at just in this little sphere where you and Michael have social media, and you're giving back and you're being a part of things in the community, and Michael's giving back through mentoring. It's you can sense that the aura that you guys have, even just if you're looking at something on social media, there's an aura there that just kind of glows that positivity, and that it's something that you are truly engaged in, and you want to help and you want to give back. Do you notice, or do others notice that that aura it's different, even though it's still athletics? Do they notice that glow is there for you too?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think like even last night, I think it was like it's like I think believe Pele said that, right? You'd rather feel relief than regret. Um, that's something that he said whenever he kind of thought about his whole entire career.
Yeah.
In an old interview of his, but it's like for me, it was helping that kid understand that no matter what, as a mentor, we can talk about anything, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be about soccer, but how can we apply and implement those values and everything he's learned within the sport to what he wants to do next. And I think that's like Mike and my biggest goal, to help kids understand the values that come along with the sport that they love and cherish, and everything that bonds and ties us together, is helping them understand how to use those values within their everyday lives.
Did that mentee feel better, or at least look like they felt better at the end of the conversation with
He
you?
did. He did. Yeah, it's always cool to see when kids just understand the utmost support that they have within people around them. And I think that's I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I think I just did a recent video. I sent it to our marketing team. But I don't know if I mentioned this last time I was on with you as well, as I had a young boy that he's 11 years old, and he one of his questions to me was, how do I not feel scared every time I play?
Yeah.
And did I give that example last time or no?
Oh, no, this is new to me.
His question to me is, how do I not feel scared? And it was interesting because I just reiterated the question. I was like, well, what do you need in order to not feel scared when you're doing something? And he gave me such a good answer. He said, sometimes I just need more than one person to tell me that I'm capable. And that was like eye-opening to me, because I feel like, and his parents were also sitting next to him. Sometimes you rarely have parents that are sitting next to him. And I could just see the parents, like maybe dad or mom, trying not to tear up, because you could just tell that, wow, that they are probably so critical of him and everything that he does. He's a good student, he's a good player, and they probably are extremely critical of him in many times of his day. And sometimes it's totally fine to have that dad or mom constructive criticism all the time, but sometimes you just need to understand that that kid just needs one or more people to tell him that him or her is absolutely capable of doing something. And I think that's an important message for all of us, right? We always need a good support system around us. I think that's key and essential to having success. You have to surround yourself with the right people.
Do we get lost in the idea of positive reinforcement? And what I mean by that is it something that we almost take for granted at times, where we don't use it enough, and we just have the individual that's in our sphere that's going through whatever the issue is, uh, even if you're there and you don't give positive reinforcement, you think you're doing enough when you're really not. Do we do enough positive reinforcement these days?
I think we can always do more. I think we can always do more. I think positivity is such an important piece of everything that we do. It's especially within our kids. I think is a massive one. Positivity for me is like it moves mountains. I think that you're able to really change, the perspective of someone when you're able to push positivity within everything that they do.
So if you were to walk into a closed door conversation with your former club, considering how they're grinding right now, and they're trying to grind out results, and things aren't meshing. What kind of positivity would you give to that locker room right now to make sure that they understand that it's okay, and as you push through this, there's something on the other side that can be a whole lot better? What positive points would you bring up?
Man, I would definitely focus on what they are doing well in games, because if they continue to focus on where they continue to make their mistakes or everything that they're doing right now, and in terms of not meshing, then that positivity will not come. Um, and we spoke about it last time. I do remember just allowing positivity to flood through that locker room. I think is probably we're not in the locker room, so we can't see what the what the environment is like. But I would really hope that you have some guys that are still able to provide smiles and things like that, because it is a pretty tough time that they're going through. It's what, two wins, 3 wins, or
Yeah.
2 wins out of a whole entire season, about what, 14 games so far.
Yeah, you're pushing 14. Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to think in the back of your head that we've won 2 games out of 14 games. So it's definitely something that they really have to find, that bright side of what they're doing, and see how they can continue to implement those things rather than anything else.
What was the craziest thing that you tried to do to snap out of a string of bad results as a team, or bad personal results? If your game was out the door, didn't leave you a note, and had left the building, what was the craziest thing that you thought of to try to turn things around? And whether it worked or not, but what was the craziest thing that you thought of that might turn something around in a string of bad form?
Yeah, I think getting Parkey always talks about this as well. Just getting away from the game, I think, is extremely important.
Mhm.
I think getting away from the game in your personal life is massively important. Um, it's when you are. I think if you continue to concentrate and focus on everything that's going on, and you're not able to kind of have a disconnect,
Yeah.
then it's just going to continue to go the same. And I think for myself in particular, I think when there was a bad streak, or where there was moments to where I wasn't up to my level, um, just trying to focus on other things that bring you joy and bring you happiness, rather than having the game continue to make you feel miserable. And I think a lot of kids that I work with, they don't understand that.
Huh.
They think that, it's interesting, because I spoke to the young kids that are the up and coming Atlanta United kids, and I told them, look, when you finish this season, don't train for like 10 days. Don't train for 2 weeks.
And they looked at you like you were crazy.
Yes. They looked at me. It was like, what do you mean? We're doing private sessions tomorrow. We're already doing group training the next day. And I'm like, man, look, like, you're gonna burn out. There's gonna be a moment to where you're gonna burn out, and you're gonna look back and you'll be like, man, I wish I had a balance of life and work, because that's what it's become. I think the game has become more of a job, sometimes for kids too. It's become more of a job in everything that they do. So, I think it's important for even kids and everyone around them. And I think that's the same thing for the guys at the club. I really hope that whenever they finish, they can go be with their families, or do fun things that takes them, yes, sometimes far away from the game.
And I mean, it's to be able to take that on off switch and just kind of recharge your own batteries away from soccer, away from something that you love, that's over there, away that it is, your occupation, where you're being paid handsomely to do your job. I mean, I think that might get lost because of the cycle of, if something's going wrong, you feel like you have to work that much harder to try to correct what's going wrong, and you are, pushing that notion of spiraling even further and further. You're working that much harder. It's becoming that much more difficult. And then you can't quite figure out how to get out of that. And I think that there might be some instances where folks think that working harder is the solution, but there's a way to work smarter, not necessarily harder, to get your end result.
Most definitely. I am a firm believer that, yes, always work smarter than work harder. Once again, I just reiterate, I think it's probably important for those guys to really have a disconnect from everything that's happening right now and trying to find different outlets and escapes to somehow bring them happiness. And when they're able to do that, hopefully that can also bring the joy back of what they're doing every single day. I could imagine a lot of those guys going into training every single day and just miserable.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a hard thing to do when you still have 20 games left. Right. So it's you have to find, like I said, you have to find that balance of bringing back the joy, and maybe once they do have some time off, maybe the coach can give them a good 4 or 5 days to go to a beach somewhere and spend some time with their family, because I think it is important. And I think throughout my career, the best managing coaches that I had, they allowed those things. And you read about the best coaches and you read about the best managers, and you look at, Mourinho, and you look at these guys that are just so good at managing personalities. And I think you can get a lot of ideas from these guys who understand life a lot better than maybe just the game.
You're in schedule compression right now with Atlanta United, where it's weekend, midweek, weekend. And it's one of those chances where you can purge what happened if it was a bad result, but you're having to grind through the rest of that particular cycle. How difficult is it to navigate who you are as an athlete when you have to perform 3 times basically in 8 days, and you're trying to figure out A, what's wrong, B, how to correct it, and C, move forward, when you don't have a whole lot of time to regen and think, and then you're back at it, and then you have to regen and think, and you're back at it. How difficult is schedule compression as a part of all?
Yeah, it's really tough. Really, really tough. I think trying to navigate that every 3 days is like your biggest thing that you're just thinking about is just your recovery. Am I going to be fit enough to play the next game? It's really hard to navigate what is actually happening. And I think that's why getting through these long stretch of games every 3 days, I think, will be key once things start to settle down again, and just have some time to reevaluate, and just kind of, like I said, have somewhat of a disconnect as well.
All right. So what's going on with Beyond Goals with you and Parky and 1,250 athletes in multiple states and going all over the place and doing all the Zooms and all of that stuff?
All is well, man. Can't complain, and continue to grow the game as much as possible. And yeah, always a pleasure to join, man.
Love you very much, my friend. Have a great
You
weekend.
as well, man. I'll see you. Hopefully, I'll see you. You'll be you on the big screen tomorrow.
I'm on the big screen tomorrow, so you'll see me without makeup on the big screen. Yes.
I'll see you there.
All right.
All right.
Be good, Greg.
See you later.
All right.
See you.
Greg Garza, Friday Free Kick. It's always great to catch up with him and Parky and find out what's going on and get the mentoring perspective about everything as we head into the issues of the day when it comes to whether it's Atlanta United, applying them to Atlanta United, the mentees that they have. And I thought it was really interesting to hear Greg talk about the one mentee who wasn't going to be playing in his senior year and not wanting to let people down. And I think that is it was a deeper conversation this morning than I think we're used to. But I thought it was, when Greg was going down that road, I figured we'd just go ahead and ask, because it is, you don't want to let people down across the board. You could be a mentee, you could be a professional athlete. You don't want to let people down. You don't want to let people down under your roof. You don't want to let your friends down. You don't want to let your family down. You don't want to let your teammates down. You don't want to let your fans down. And so that's part of all of this right now. And you're trying to avoid the negative cycle that I'm sure is going on in a lot of folks' heads right now. But the biggest thing is set it down, put it to the side, understand that it's a new day, and trying to work your way through it. It is hour number 2, 55th minute, I guess. And before we get into the weekend, what I wanted to do was along those lines with what we were talking about with Greg. I wanted to play this conversation that Jason had with Matt Edwards after the match in Austin. And it's it's a couple of minutes, but once again, it's worth your time. Here's Jason and Matt Edwards after the draw in Austin with MLS After Dark, and still incredibly hot and humid all at the same time. So courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, here is Jason post-match with Matt Edwards.
It was a long 90 minutes for sure. It was hot, but just happy we came away with something out of this game. I feel like we deserve something, but it was good to finally, something to sort of go our way. But now you just got to take the next step to get 3 points.
You made a late run, I think it was your last play at right wing back, and then moved into the middle, just cramping up.
Yeah, just tired legs, just a little bit of fatigue in my legs, but it was okay. I mean, I'm okay.
Yeah. There was a sequence on a corner that team won, and I noticed you were the first one to react. You were pumping your fists, you were going around to everybody multiple times in that whole sequence before the corner. How much does it mean to you personally just to get something out of this game and take it back home?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Atlanta for a while, and we've had dark times, and I don't like being a part of those. So I want to be one of the guys that can change the culture and change how the group is performing, or whatever I can add to the group I want to add. And it just felt like we were down a little bit in that moment, and my goal was to get everybody back in the game and get our heads back up, because it felt like we were down a little bit. So I just wanted to add something to the game. If that's my purpose on the team, that's my purpose.
We've talked about it before. I mean, I feel like your role is changing right in front of us in this team. Do you feel comfortable standing up and yelling at guys and trying to change that energy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we all respect each other. We're all friends to an extent in the locker room, and we all have good banter. So I mean, that relationship comes first, and then that gives you the ability to yell at people, hold people accountable on the field. It wasn't even me yelling at people, though. It was just trying to get the energy back in the group, because it just felt like we were lacking it a little bit. And then when the subs came on, water break happened, I think there was a spark, and everyone started flying again. So it was important for all of us just to keep our heads up and keep going.
Last one from me. Ronnie talked about how after the first, maybe half of the first half, maybe more towards the water break, it felt like you guys got pushed deeper and deeper and you couldn't get out. What did it feel like to you, and how can you change those moments when that's happening?
Yeah, it felt like we were under a bit of pressure, and there are so many moments in games where that happens. It's going to happen to the best teams. So I think for us, it's just important to stay together. That was the biggest thing, and I think we did that. We fought it out and just thugged it out, my way of saying it. But I think that was kind of the biggest changing point from previous games, where we didn't thug it out and we conceded late in the first half. So for me, that was important for us, just to stay together. I mean, sometimes it's going to happen when you get pushed back and you have to defend deep in your box. And then just getting the ball to our attacking players and letting them do something with it, I think we need to – that's the only way we can change from there is –
Took me a second. Matt Edwards after the match in Austin, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. So thug it up. It seems kind of apropos considering the opponent coming to town for Atlanta United. Rich Ransom will be in attendance, and so it would be fun to see Rich at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on the weekend. So we hope that everyone from Philadelphia enjoys your trip, but not the match itself. Let's say hi to everybody who is joining us this morning. And it is morning Will, morning Rich, morning Alex, morning Abby, morning David. Yeah, I think we're to the point maybe sacrificing a live chicken might be something. And then Abby's open for some wins before the break. All right, let's break down the weekend. We'll save the discussion on Atlanta United. We do have our referee assignments, and we will go over those as well. And we'll go over the juice boxes to lead into the weekend. Remember, once again, It is Soccer's in Session Playoff Daily Live. Looks like we're adding guests as we go. Looks like we're going to hear from Walton. Looks like we're going to hear from Westminster. Looks like we're going to hear from Lake Oconee Academy, and maybe from Campbell, orthodontists dependent. So that's what's going to look like at noon. We'll hear from those coaches, and it's going to be a fun conversation for our last in-session Playoff Daily Live on the year. And so for the first time in God knows how long, it has been entirely too long. And it's not even a Monday. Bart Keeler joining us. Where have you been, sir? I need to hear you. Oh, look at that. He's got the mug. He's got the core mug. That might yes. Can't hear you yet. I like the Carolina core mug, by the way. That's very good. Still can't hear you. Keep talking. I got nothing, Bart. I have nothing from you. No audio whatsoever. You and that headset. Nothing. Big thumbs down. Because if I hear you, I'll let you know. So, I have no earthly idea. Bart, you want to duck back out and then and see if you need to adjust some things? I'll go over some folks, and then you can rail on officials. You want to do that? I don't have much of a choice. Give me a thumbs. There we go. Give me a thumbs up, and hopefully we can get something squared away. But Bart's joining us after entirely too many weeks of not joining us because, I don't know. He's like having to work and stuff in the real world. And so we'll see if we can get Bart to break everything down. All right, take number 2. Let's see what happens here. Take 2. I ain't hearing you. I got nothing. I hear nothing, sir. Nothing. I hear nothing at all. Nothing. Thumbs down across the board. See, he comes back for the first time in God knows how long, and it is apparently his computer and his audio equipment have forgotten how to integrate and have conversations. We're getting our MLS preview ready, and I was ready to have Bart run through all of the juice boxes with us and break it all down and find out what's going on. But, of course, his equipment is rebelling, and there's no interest from his equipment to get back and dial things back up and figure out what audio output and input are needed so he can have a conversation. So coming up, it is going to be juice boxes and officials with Bart here on your Friday, and we'll break everything down. Obviously, with Atlanta United, you're looking at Atlanta United in Philadelphia philosophically. And it is, once again, if you missed the conversation that we had yesterday with Todd Lewis of the Free Kick Pod, I would go back and listen to that about where the season has come under Bradley Carnell and the more imaginative ways that LAG has found to lose matches this year. Up 2-0, drawn at 2, 96th minute. Just chipped to the back post, and it was 2 on maybe a half a defender, and it looked like Yamane was the one who got stuck and hung out to dry. And so it goes from 2-0 lead to 3-2 loss for LAG. Philadelphia gets full points, and that is what you're staring at. But we know what Philadelphia brings to the table when it comes to their physical nature. And for Atlanta United specifically, one of the first things that I'm looking at is how they respond to it. Are you going to have a team come into your barn and kind of push you around a little bit? How do you respond to this kind of a thing? That's what I am looking at in this particular instance with Atlanta United and Philadelphia coming to town. Can you answer their physicality? That, to me, is the biggest thing. Can you answer the physicality going forward? All right, let's get into juice boxes, and then we will circle back with Bart, and we'll find out what's going on with Bart and his equipment. See, you don't get those regular reps. The audio equipment kind of sits there and goes, not thinking about it. So getting into all of the activity, once again, we'll do the announce cruise as well. And it's on Apple, it's on Apple TV, and some of it's on the Big FOX, and we'll run through all of that. So we do have a full slate in USL Championship, also in League One. 2:30, which means 2:40. It is Canadian Classique. CF Montreal actually favored at Stade Saputo at a -102, taking on Toronto. Toronto is a +269. Your draw is a +250. Hudson River, NYC is a +110. Your draw is a +260. Red Bulls are a +221. Hell is Real, 7 o'clock, 7:10. It is Crew at a minus 116. Crew! FC Cincinnati's a plus 288. And it is a plus 274 on the draw. Atlanta favored with Philadelphia coming to town at a plus 125. Philadelphia is a plus 194. Your draw's a plus 261. Charlotte and Chicago. Charlotte a minus 104. Draws a plus 278. Chicago on the road at plus 247. Your Bruce Arena Derby. Arena Bowl. There you go. Arena Bowl 1. Revs are a minus 112. Draws a plus 299. And San Jose is a plus 254. Bart Keeler, round 3. I still got nothing. I have nothing. I have no idea. I have no idea what is wrong with your computer, sir. I have no clue. I have no idea whatsoever. Why don't you go use your phone or your laptop? How about that? I know. It's strange. Because I'm about to go over the referee assignments, and we need your help there. So Arena Bowl 1, Austin and Vancouver. Outside of that, as an 8:40 start. Austin underdog at a plus 187. Vancouver favored at a plus 129, and your draw is a plus 252. Copa Tejas and Dallas. FC Dallas a plus 112. Your draw is a plus 231. Houston is a plus 244. 840 Minnesota and all caps. Minnesota a big favorite after laying the clunker that they did in the midweek at a minus 179. Draws a plus 311 and all caps. St. Louis City SC is a plus 462. Nashville and DC United at 840. Nashville's a minus 182. Draws a plus 316. Oh, there's an Austin joke in there somewhere. DC United's a plus 434. 9:40 Eastern time. Colorado is a plus 114 hosting RSL. RSL is a plus 206. Your draw is a plus 266. 9:40 Portland and Seattle in Cascadia. Juice Boxers threw a blanket over the whole thing. Basically, both sides are a plus 155, so they don't even know. Your draw's a plus 254. Draw in at 10:40 Eastern. San Diego hosting Sporting. San Diego's a big favorite at a minus 179, draws a plus 326, and Sporting is a plus 418. Sunday night soccer, it is Messi and friends at the Erector Set hosting the Purple team. Messi and friends are a minus 112. Jordi Alba has signed a contract extension. Plus 284 on the draw, plus 264 for the Purple team. Late night, back into the doubleheader. 9:10 Eastern time, it is El Tráfico. LAG is a plus 222. No room for error there. Draws a plus 268. And LAFC is a plus 108. Abby, I need to know about this subbing of the ref thing that you're talking about. I need to know about that because that's the first I've heard about it. I need to know the specifics about what was going on there with these substitutions and all of those things. So let's see if we can find our announce lineups before we get into our ref assignments. And do we have our assignments yet? Do we have them? No, we don't have our announcer assignments. My guess is they'll probably come out after the Blinken show is over, like it always is. So let's get into our ref assignments, and then we can have Bart address the highlights, provided his headphones and his headphone jack and his computer and all of his inputs and outputs actually do allow him to come on the show. For Canadian Classique at 2:30, Philip Dujic is the man in the middle. However, Jose de Silva, Ryan Graves, Mario Al-Ayas are your ARs in your fourth. Kevin Stott and Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Hudson River, Alan Chapman, who I think still looks like he just came out of the wilderness. Like he's trying to be like a 21st century Brawny ad now with the beard and stuff. Alan Chapman is the ref at City Field for Hudson River. Corey Richardson, Kevin Klinger, Matt Thompson, your ARs in your fourth. Greg Dopka and John Krill are upstairs. Rubiel Vasquez is for Hell is Real. 7:25 start. Okay. Cameron Blanchard, Ian McKay, Benjamin Meyer are your ARs in your fourth. Jeff Gamble and Jeff Mushik are upstairs. Chris Penso is the man in the middle for Atlanta and Philadelphia. Callie Smith, Brian Marshall, Matthew Corrigan are your ARs in your fourth. Eunice Marakchi and Joshua Patlak are upstairs. Charlotte and Chicago, Izmir Pekmich is the man in the middle. Justin Howard, Matthew Nelson, Alyssa Nichols, your ARs in your fourth. Kevin Terry Jr., Mike Kampmeinert are upstairs. Arena Bowl, Ricardo Montero Araya is the man in the middle. Lias Arfa, Gianni Facchini, Atahan Yaya are your ARs in your fourth. Jorge Gonzalez and John Krill are upstairs. So John Krill is doing a back-to-back, and I mean a back-to-back, getting him to race from one room to the next. Krill he's AVAR for Hudson River. Then that one's over. He gets a cup of coffee and maybe a bathroom break before he has to get ready for Arena Bowl 1. Austin and Vancouver, Alexis De Silva is the man in the middle. Jason White, Eduardo Jeff, Lorenzo Hernandez are your ARs in your fourth. Greg Dopka and Brian Dunn are upstairs. Copa Tejas, FC Dallas, and Houston Dynamo at Toyota. Tori Penso, Catherine Nesbitt, Brooke Mayo are your ref and AR. Sergi Boyko is your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich and Robert Shapp are upstairs. We know about Edvin Jurasevich and his history, so keep an eye on that matchup with your VAR review. Minnesota United in all caps at 8:40. Ricardo Fierro is the man in the middle. Gerard Cader-Lebuy, Rhett Hamill, and Luis Diego Arroyo, your ARs in your fourth. Soren Stoichka and Craig Lowry are upstairs. Nashville and D.C., Fotis Bazakas, the man in the middle. Corey Rockwell, Stefan Tanaka-Freund, Sergei Demyanchuk, your ARs in your fourth. Kevin Stodden and Eligio Adegin are upstairs. Colorado and RSL, Pierre-Luc Lozier, man in the middle. Chris Wadham, Kevin Locke, Jair Marufo, your ARs in your fourth. Caroline Chenard and Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Portland and Seattle, Rosendo Mendoza for Cascadia, man in the middle. Corey Parker, Kyle Atkins, Malik Badawi, your ARs in your fourth. Armando Villarreal, Jonathan Johnson are upstairs. San Diego and Sporting at 9:40. Victor Rivas, Andrew Bigelow, Jeffrey Schwartzel, Joe Dickerson is your fourth after being the man in the middle for San Jose and Messi and Friends. Joe Dickerson gets to be the fourth at Snapdragon after having been the man in the middle at San Jose. Jeff Gamble and Mike Kampmeinert are upstairs. Sunday night soccer at the Erector set, Guido Gonzalez Jr. is the man in the middle. Jeremy Kiso, Chris Elliott, Marcus de Oliveira, your ARs and your fourth. J.C. Rivero and Tom Supple are upstairs. And for El Trafico, it is Drew Fisher, the man in the middle at Dignity Health Sports Park. Logan Brown, Jeremy Hansen, Lucas Zapala, your ARs in your fourth. Armando Villarreal and Craig Lowry are upstairs. So Abby mentions the ref in the LAG match with Philly. So ref swap, LA Galaxy, Philadelphia Union. Let's see if we have any kind of official word. What happened there? Fotis Bazakas, according to the Philly soccer page. Let's see, 31st minute. 3 minutes later, getting to the end. Okay, so according to the Philly soccer page, Fotis Bazakas stopped the match in the 76th minute due to an apparent injury his own. Fourth official Sergei Demyanchuk took charge of the match after a break. They were on a break. So apparently Fotis Bazakas injured in match, and Sergei Demyanchuk took charge after said injury, and they took a break and they swapped out all of the paperwork. So it ended up with Demyanchuk getting the finish, and it was Fotis Bazakas who was the center ref who was swapped out and injured. And that's why I guess you got a fourth. But, I mean, it's kind of like baseball, where you have all of these other dudes that are there. And so Fotis Bazakas, 76th minute, he's like, nope, I'm going to call a timeout. So he and Demyanchuk tagged in. And so Fotis Bazakas, wait, didn't we say that Bazakas, it looks like Bazakas was administered in the middle again this month. Hang on, I thought we saw Fotis Bazakas was once. I thought Fotis Bazakas was in the middle for the Nashville match. So hang on. Where did I see Fotis Bazakos? Hang on. So Fotis Bazakos is where? Come on. Oh, where did I see him? I thought I saw Fotis Bazakos in the lineups. I'm going to have to sit here and just kind of pour over it slowly instead of sitting here and trying to figure out where he was. Sergi Boyko, Ricardo Fierro. Demjanchuk is the man in the middle in Nashville at Geodis. And Rosendo Mendoza, Malik Badawi, Guido Gonzalez Jr. Huh. Okay. So Fotis Bazakos looks like he was pulled from the weekend. Is that right? One more pass. I'm going to do one more pass and see if I can find him. I thought we had talked about him, but it appears that Fotis Bazakos, through injury, at least with injury in the midweek, was not assigned an on-field effort this weekend. So Fotis Bazakos, 76 minute, 15 to go, decided to pull himself from being center F. He and Sergei Demjanchuk swapped out. And apparently Bazakos does not have a weekend assignment. So that's what you're staring at with Fotis Bazakos. And that's the first time that I think that I can recall, Abby, to be perfectly honest, that it has been one of those where a center ref has pulled himself from activity and you had a swap out, you had a tag. So that's wild that happened. But yeah, Fotis Bazakos not getting an on-field assignment this weekend. So my guess is that might be why Sergei Demjanchuk was given the man in the middle in Nashville instead of, say, a Fotis Bazakos, and you're having to call folks up and then plug in holes and things like that. But yeah, Fotis Bazakos out of his own accord in the 76th minute. Sergei Demjanchuk tagged in, finished the match for the last 20 minutes, and was there for the Michael Ua chip to the back post that was headed in, and you end up with the result for Philly coming back from a 2-0 deficit, winning 3-2 against LAG. So we are still trying to figure out what in the wide world of sports is up with Bart and his headphones. So, like I said, when Bart comes back in, we'll go over ref assignments and we'll do some reffing down here and all of that kind of stuff. We do have some Premier League action today. We'll go into those juice boxes coming up in just a little bit. Villa and Spurs at 2:30. Chelsea, Manchester United is at 3:15. And now there is a new Premier League rule that we will discuss. Sam Wallace at The Telegraph. The Premier League is going to introduce the captain's only rule next season when it comes to talking to the ref during the match, as has been the case in UEFA competitions this year. Clubs are likely to ratify it at the Premier League annual general meeting next month. PGMOL, the referees organization, hopes that the Football League will come on board with the new protocol implemented this season in the 3 UEFA club competitions. Adjustment first came in for Euro 2024 and was extended to UEFA comps this year, met by general approval, according to Sam Wallace, by officials who are encouraged in their interactions with team captains to, quote, explain decisions rather than justify decisions. So you have that. Does not mean that, once again, the other 20 players on the pitch can't interact with the referee and assistants, simply that the dialogue around the big moments is reserved for the two team captains. I can't wait for the halo to show up. Limited cases when a keeper is the captain, the team can opt to nominate an outfield player as their point of communication with the referee. UEFA said that referees back in July would have an open line of dialogue. This is last July, with teams to explain all decisions, including those made by VAR. Quote, this information and accompanying explanations are provided only to the team captains, who are the only players entitled to speak to the referee and request clarifications in a respectful manner. Captains must also take the responsibility for their teammates, asking them to respect the referee, keep their distance, and not surround match officials. In UEFA competition, referees have enforced the captain's-only policy with bookings for players who ignore it. Measure was brought in as a trial by IFAB, the body which governs laws of the game, November 2023, done to stop the surrounding of the referees by groups of players arguing with a decision regarded as having a detrimental effect on the game and especially on referees in grassroots. Also a problem in the EFL where there's not the same scrutiny as the Premier League. going through major changes themselves, meaning referees. Top 2 tiers of refereeing are to merge. Select Group 1, which is Premier League and Championship, and Select Group 2, which does Championship, League 1, and League 2. Refs may even find themselves demoted, although none of this will start until the 26-27 season. Hey, demotion reminds us of the conversation that we had with Mark Geiger. And to David's point, I think David gets a +1 here. So David says, when when Geiger was on the show, they sabotaged Bart's access to avoid accountability. We do have some stuff to catch up with on Bart with national teams getting ready for activity next month. And we do, with everything going on with officials and the men in the middle. I have no earthly idea. I did not, and I will lay claim to this. I did not, under any circumstance, sabotage Bart's audio equipment. Because if it was me, I would figure out how just to try and plug it in or not plug it in. Maybe I'm plugging it in well, so let's see what happens. We go round 4. Yeah?
Maybe?
Nope. Yes! Yay!
You're kidding me. Okay, good.
No, so what happened?
I don't know, John. I don't know. In the back room, I'm getting like, yeah, it works. And then I get in here and it's like, no, it doesn't work. So I don't know. This is what happens when I spend this much time away. My computer is like, wait, what is this? Who is this? What are we doing?
This is what I'm saying. We just went over the new rule that's going to be in the Premier League, where only captains can talk to the ref in the new Premier League rule. Dialogue with officials, key moments in the match coming from captains only, so they get to join the party where that's concerned.
Yeah. I think this is something we have discussed a whole lot on this particular show, John. And I am still curious because even in the Premier League, you have, believe it or not, the Premier League does have players at the level of Messi and friends on a lot of teams. So I am curious how that will go over when a team like, say, I don't know, Chelsea and their $70 million players decide that they want to confront the referee to talk. But I think overall we agree this is a positive, right? Because for 2 reasons. One, it just gets the match going a little bit quicker when you don't have to worry about a mass confrontation by the referee, and 27 players on the roster feel like they can surround the referee. But also, John, this is good for the referees to not have their decisions possibly affected by the crowding of the referees and their decisions being questioned every single time they blow or don't blow the whistle.
Yeah, and so I am looking forward to seeing how this continues to evolve. Speaking of evolution, South Korea and Japan are now going to be the men's friendlies in the September international window. What say you?
I think a lot of people were making a big deal, John, about the schedule the USMNT had back in the fall. If you remember, we played Canada and Panama, and then New Zealand and Mexico. The Mexico-Panama friendlies may be okay. The Canada-New Zealand friendlies, no. A lot of people were crying about how, we're not going to get any good competition before the World Cup. And now that World Cup qualifying and all that has kind of coming to a conclusion, you see that we're able to book some better teams to play. So 2 teams that I think are at around the level the U.S. itself is, which should give you a good barometer of where you are and where you need to be. And most importantly, John, I think an actually good way to test out individual players to make sure they are up to snuff when we talk about what summer of 2026 will look like. We also have that opportunity this summer. We don't know what that roster will fully look like yet. We do have reports that it will come out next week. So maybe next Friday, I'm on talking with you about a roster drop for the men's national team. But we don't know exactly how full it will be. We do know that obviously some guys that are in Club World Cup potential, which could actually at this point be Alex and Tejas, by the way, who with Club America has a shot. So we'll see how that goes.
When we're looking at the national team and the announcement, probably next Friday with you back here to discuss these kinds of things, how many questions do you openly have about the announcement? How many slots do you think are in play, and how many individuals would be in play here?
I think first off, John, we don't know how many of the stars are going to get a rest, right? We don't know. Sounds bad. We don't know what Gio Reyna's status with Dortmund is.
Really?
Maybe they play him a lot because they want to sell him in the summer and they want to put him in the window. Maybe they don't play him at all because they don't want him to get hurt to then sell. We don't, or maybe they don't play him at all because he's not in the future plan. So why play him in a tournament like this? We don't really know. We also obviously have with Juventus a couple players who probably will miss. I obviously alluded to Club America, which may be impacted with Alex and Tejas. We don't know. They're still, I forget when that date is, but they will have a playoff game against LAFC to figure out if they're
31st.
Thank you. If they're coming in.
30.
So we don't know, and then we also don't know, like, say, Christian Pulisic, is he getting a break? We don't expect Ricardo Pepi, but do we expect, other strikers? It's a hard question to answer, John, because we just don't know what the level of squad we're bringing. Now, we have heard that it'll likely be a stronger squad than we have in the past, which is good because U.S. soccer needs to take itself seriously. The U.S. men's national team does. But we don't really know because we're not quite sure what the plans are for the top players. Again, we know Juventus players will be with Juventus. We don't know if Gio will be with Dortmund. We don't know what Pulisic and those guys will be able to do. So we shall see. We know it's 26 players. That's about all we know.
Bart Keeler, Soccer for USPOD. Oh, go ahead and show the Carolina Core mug, if you would.
Got to show off the mug, John, because this is where I was a couple weeks ago. So
yes. And so how much money did you spend in the pro shop?
I actually did not spend a lot of money because they gave me 2 free things. So that was great.
Oh.
They were legitimately just happy to have someone show up at their store and buy something. Gonna be real honest.
Really?
Shout out to the Carolina Core people. Yeah. Well, I mean, I got a sticker and a koozie, so because I bought the mug.
Okay. So it was a 3-for-1 deal. So you got the most expensive item, and so then they give you 2 underneath it. Yeah, we do need to catch up. We do need to catch up with folks up at Carolina Core and MLS Next Pro. When you look at, and Abby wanted to discuss what happened in the Philadelphia LAG match where Fotis Bazakas apparently was he pulled himself because of an unknown injury, and Sergei Demyanchuk did the final 20. I cannot remember the last time that something like that has happened, but I imagine that there is a set protocol where, okay, if center ref can't go, then there is a line of succession or there is an order of succession in a situation like this.
Yeah, so if you notice, John, a lot of fourth officials are the ones who will take over because when you look at the assignments, a lot of fourth officials, if not all of them, are guys or girls who have qualifications to be the center referee. And that's that backup plan. ARs are a little different. Usually they do have a backup AR somewhere there. We remember it was 2 summers ago, I guess, technically, when we had in the Gold Cup, the referee taken out by a clearance and hit in the head, legitimately had to come out and the fourth official took over for a little bit as the AR, and then the backup AR after getting his warm up and was able to take over for the rest of the match. So in theory, your fourth official would be the one who takes over specifically for the center referee, but the fourth official is there to be the backup for all of them. So it's fun because you get assigned that, and that's not what you hope to have to do, but sometimes you do. It happens.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check. Ref assignments. We went through the crews for this weekend. There are some interesting selections and matchups here in the pro dating game for the matchups this weekend. Alan Chapman gets Hudson River. Rubiel Vasquez gets Hell is Real. Chris Penso is here in Atlanta. Alexis De Silva is Austin and Vancouver. Tori Penso, Catherine Nesbitt, Brooke Mayo, Sergi Boyko get Copa Tejas with Dallas and Houston. Ricardo Fierro gets Minnesota and St. Louis. Rosendo Mendoza gets Cascadia. And Guido Gonzalez Jr. gets Messi and Friends with the purple team. Drew Fisher gets El Trafico. Some interesting combinations there where Joe Dickerson is the fourth for San Diego and Sporting after being in the middle and giving Lionel Messi a yellow and almost a red after what happened at the end of Messi and Friends in San Jose in the midweek. Joe Dickerson just gets to take the California shuttle to go down to San Diego this go-round.
Well, I didn't get to watch the entire game, but I did get to watch that. And look, Messi needs to realize that he doesn't get to just talk to the referees however he feels. He and his team already get plenty of special treatment from the league and from the referees for being who they are. And just because you didn't get the most special treatment that you thought you should, doesn't mean you should go up to the referees after the game and cry about it. But that'll be fun for Joe Dickerson.
Yeah, he gets to hear from Oscar Pareja on one side and Javier Mascherano on the other. That ought to be absolute. That'll be just so much fun. Oh man, I mean, how do you and how do your friends adjust to all the chirping that comes from whether it's coaches or star players and things like that? How long did it take all of you in your collective circle to tune in, know what to tune into, know what to tune out, how to gauge, star power and all these kinds of things? How do you handle talking and chirping and star power? How do you guys handle those kinds of things?
It's hard, John, because there is a level of understanding that players of all levels and coaches want to express some sort of grievance. The way I like to at least approach it is we need to treat it in some way, shape, or form as a conversation, right? You're more than welcome to talk with me, but shouting at me, yelling at me, without a real productive means, that's where we're going to shut it down. Again, people are going to go, what are you doing? And that's where we go, I don't listen, because that's the tune out process of I'm not paying attention to that. But I'll give an example. So last week I had a game, and a coach I've had before who knows me pretty well, and knows my style of refereeing. There was a foul on a player outside the penalty area, but far in the corner. So the coach who was on the opposite side couldn't really tell where the foul was, right? But it did look close to the penalty area, and as most fields in Georgia have, there's about 5 other sports field lines on the field, on this turf field. So, I see this foul happen, but the player does get a cross off. He's fouled after the cross as he's crossing, and the ball goes right to a player inside the penalty area with a pretty clean shot on goal. But unfortunately, he's 13, and ball control is not his strong suit. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And then another player who was there also had a chance to capitalize and didn't. So 2 players then had chances to take a shot on goal. I think one just whiffed it wide. And I did not call the foul because I played an advantage, right? I said, play on. You've got cross inside the penalty area in between the 6 and the 12. That's like the most advantageous place that you could score from, unless you're Atlanta United and you don't know how to do that. But the coach was not in a bad way, but the next opportunity said, hey, why didn't you call that? I was like, it was outside the penalty area, so I called advantage. It's like, oh, okay, I couldn't tell if it was inside or outside. And that's an example of he had to shout a little bit because I'm obviously not next to him. But it goes, ref, what's that called? And I go, well, I called advantage. It was outside the penalty area. And he goes, oh, okay. And again, that's an example of these coaches do want some level of, they're not out to just be mean. They are actually looking for some level of explanation or clarity, right? But on the flip side, I had a coach who just said, that's terrible. Well, okay, here you go. Go sit down and be quiet, Um, and that is the difference, right, John, is we are having a conversation at reaching understanding versus you're just yelling at me because you're mad that you didn't teach your team how to string 3 passes together.
Couple of rules of the game as we get into the LOTG that I know that folks will have questions about as I sit here and try to eliminate a wake taxi cab from the discussions going forward.
Yeah.
Foul throws I want to get into, and handball I want to get into because I know that these are two elements of the game where I think that folks probably get wrapped up in the most in trying to figure out, yes, it is, no, it's not, yes, it is, no, it's not, and then there's gnashing of teeth and wringing of hands and all those kinds of things. What constitutes a foul throw, whether it is landing, standing, motion, the whole thing? Foul throw, break this down for folks so they know what a foul throw is and what it isn't.
John, I will just say this. In the grand scheme of all the things that we are policing stringently, a foul throw is not high on that priority list. There are a couple things that we want to make sure that the throw achieves, right? We want to make sure that you're throwing it with 2 hands. Ball appears to go behind your head, over the top of your head, and is released in front of you. And you're facing the field and you have 2 feet on the ground. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem here is, and I understand completely, that there's a lot of throw-ins that are taken that don't look like they're taken directly, above and in front of the head. Unless I have a straight-on view of it, I can't tell you for sure if it is or isn't. That I think that's kind of the process we've gone to. Now we can kind of make an inference. If it's over here, yeah, that's not a problem. Like Weston McKinney's one where he just kind of like throws the ball with one hand, like there's another hand on the ball and it's there. I'm just going to be real honest. We're not as picky with foul throws because of one reason only. It's that the likelihood that a throw-in actually is a tool for maintaining possession is pretty low. A lot of times there is a change of possession within the first 5 seconds after a throw-in. And it's just not something that is the biggest priority for us. I'm sorry. Obviously we want to make sure they're off the field to play, which is one. Obviously we are trying to make sure that they're taking it somewhat near the place where the ball went out of play, but even that's, whatever. And I hate to say that. It's just the reality of all the things we're chirping about during the game. I am more likely to say, hey, go, my thing is always, I want you to at least start where the ball went out of play.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. And so for me personally, and a lot of the referees I work with, we're just not fully policing that the way that I think a lot of people think we should. And part of it too is like, while the procedure and the laws of the game is fairly clear, stand facing the field of play, have part of each foot on the touchline or on the ground outside the touchline, right? Mm-hmm. So both feet on or touching the ground, on or behind the touchline. Okay. That is probably one we are actually looking for if we are able to look at it, because again, we don't want people to come onto the field of play. But any part of your foot touching the touchline counts.
Okay.
Any part. Going back to last year and this fixture we have Saturday last year. And then the final one is the ball with both hands from behind and over the head from the point where it left the field of play. So again, behind and over the head, that does not mean fully in line with your head, and it just doesn't, right? It doesn't mean that. Um, that's kind of the problem, is we've been a little bit more liberal and expansive with those definitions, right? Above, from behind and over the head, right? This is behind and over the head. This isn't from the side, but as long as you can kind of tell me that it's over the head and it went from behind and in front, then I think I'm fine, to be quite honest. Now,
Okay.
I will say, John,
second,
I will say,
yeah,
at the U 13, 12, and 11, where we do have referees, especially 11 and 12, where we have 3 referees on the field with, at that point, 9 players for the most part. We are a little bit more litigious with our foul throw calls because we are teaching kids how to take the foul throw or take a throw in, right? So at that level,
we're teaching them to take a foul throw.
yeah, we are teaching them how to take a proper throw in. So we are making sure we're policing that.
Right. The other one, obviously, this is our pseudo monthly PSA of the more you know when it comes to handball. What is it? Where is it? Out here, gravity, twisting, all these variables. Where do we need to be focusing when it comes to handball, chicken wings, these kinds of things?
So again, handball starts around the bottom of your armpit. So however you deem that, a lot of us will kind of use the short sleeve shirt as that barrier. Yeah. So put your arm down and it's somewhere there. Yeah. It's that part has been a little bit more gray, and it's kind of used as an out for a lot of things. Then we are looking for something that is outside the natural silhouette of your body based on your natural movement in a game.
Okay.
You're modeling it very well right now, John.
I'm attempting to, yes.
If a arm is down by their side or within, the scope of their body, the frame of their body, probably not going to be a handball at all.
Right.
If even your arm is outstretched a little bit, but it's a normal, I think we've seen a couple times where, a player is jumping, and so naturally your arms are going to be away from your body. Maybe not up. We don't want anything up is going to be a problem, right? It should be a problem.
Yeah.
But anything that's still
up,
down, yeah, anything below your shoulder should be relatively okay, because we understand you have to use your hands to jump. Yeah, at least most athletes should. I don't know why people wouldn't. It's tough because I will just say there are a lot of factors that go into it, and each handball is slightly different. Now, the one thing that doesn't matter where it hits you, or where in that arm part that it hits you, or how it hits you, is if you score a goal directly from it, or you set yourself up for a goal scoring opportunity directly from it. Right. You can't do that, right? We can't score with our hands. Goalkeepers can't throw the ball in the goal. You can't use your arm to score a goal either. So, that is my biggest thing, John. I think that should be like a golden snitch rule in soccer. If the goalkeeper throws the ball into the opponent's net, you get like 5 goals and the game's over.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that would be, for me, I think that if you end up throwing the ball from one end to the other and it ends up getting past the other keeper, that's on the other keeper for letting that happen.
I think so too.
No, yeah, so there you go. All right, so are you coming back on Monday for regular rotation? Are you back now?
I think that should be the plan. I am in the office, barring any other life circumstances that pop up. Hopefully none.
Okay. All right. So then we will plot for you to come back on Monday. We'll discuss what happened over the weekend, and we'll see if there are any other modern PSAs that have to deal with the.
I'm sure we will have some moments from. Actually, I will say, John, I don't know. I heard a little bit of talk. But I thought the officiating in the Atlanta-Austin match was mostly okay. I'm still shocked GRA was onside. I haven't seen an angle that shows me that he fully is, but I also haven't seen an angle that shows me that he's not. But when that ball was played, I was like, oh, he might be offside. Because as we again know that you have to be behind the ball
Yeah.
if you're in front of all or behind all the defenders. The ball has to be further or closer to the goal than you. Hey, he did though. Apparently, Doug Robertson said it was because he said he was right on the line. So
clear and obvious error in going to VAR. So that is our main marker when it comes to.
John, you say clear and obvious, but how many times this year have we seen clear and obvious, or not seen a clear and obvious thing? And yeah, I know.
That is fingernails on a chalkboard for me when it goes to VAR and you re-officiate from absolutely true from those kinds of things. And so Will says that TRA balls the Music City Miracle. Absolutely, yeah. Frank Wycheck and winning last play of the game against Buffalo. Don't remind me. Yeah, don't remind me about Frank Wycheck and the Music City Miracle, although Mike Keith's call was amazing. All right, so now you have 3 days to figure out how to get back to your original upright and locked position so you can be back here at 10 o'clock to start hour number 2 on Monday. Glad to have you back, my friend. Glad you have a new mug to add to your stacks.
Congrats, Carolina Core, for being a thing that exists that I could go see while I was in High Point. It was a highlight of my trip there.
Absolutely. Yes.
Y'all enjoy the tailgates tomorrow. Hopefully it's not super muggy. Hydrate with actual water.
Hydrate. Yes, the actual hydration. Dihydrogen oxide is your choice for hydration, as it should be. We will probably see you in passing on tomorrow, and we will definitely see you back here hopefully on Monday at 10 o'clock to start hour number 2. Welcome back, my friend. Sir. There goes Bart. And so now Bart has 3 days to fix whatever's going on with his normal unit. And so there we are. And I wanted to, because of all of the different things that have happened on the weekend, where I wanted to go back to have our PSA about everything that is involving handball and offside, and we can get into clear and obvious and all those kinds of things as well. So right there, that's what we're staring at. Also, let's run through some of the news. Charlton 1-0 winners over Wickham. They're heading into the playoff final, so they got that big win yesterday. Liverpool looked like they're going to trigger the £30 million release on Jeremy Frimpong, and that looks like that could be done with Bayer Leverkusen in the next 48 hours. Players keen on a move to Anfield to join Van Dijk, Gakpo, and Gravenberch. Liverpool also have an interest in Florian Wirtz. And Frimpong is a Manchester City Academy graduate and Celtic player identified as someone who could challenge Connor Bradley at right back once Trent Alexander-Arnold leaves this summer, whenever they figure out what the cost is and if they can get that to mix and be a successful transfer to have him available, meaning TAA, for the Club World Cup. Frimpong can also play in other positions, which will make him valuable for Arne Slot. And so we'll keep an eye on that. It looks like Real Madrid has beaten Chelsea, Liverpool, and Bayern Munich to Bournemouth's Dean Huijsen. The center back looks like it's going to be in the neighborhood of a £50 million release clause in the contract. Madrid, according to Jason Burt at The Telegraph, Madrid stole a march on the negotiations after a breakthrough was made on the salary demands. Release clause not a problem for any of the clubs, particularly as it doesn't have to be paid in one hit. It can be covered in 3 installments, but it looks like a 5-year deal for Real Madrid and Dean Huijsen. So once again, Trent Alexander-Arnold joining on a free, Huijsen joining after they kicked the release clause in at $50 million. Become one of the first signings for Xabi Alonso. Should he officially replace Carlo Ancelotti to take over at the Bernabeu? Alonso's considering switching to a 3-4-3. Needs a ball-playing center half like Huijsen. Bournemouth knew they were going to be losing Huijsen for quite some time. Joined him only last summer on a 6-year deal from Juve after a successful loan spell with Roma, where he was brought in by then sporting director Thiago Pinto. Bournemouth paid £12.5 million for Huijsen. So they're going to get 400% of their investment in 12 months. fully prepared for him to leave. They've drawn up plans to get the successor. Chelsea have other defensive targets, Mark Gahey, Jorel Hato from Ajax, as they want to add a central defender for Enzo Maresca's squad. Space will be made through the anticipated sale of Axel Disasi, while Trevor Chalaba's long-term future remains a doubt, despite the defender returning from his loan spell at Crystal Palace. So Dean Houston is on the move as well. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. We mentioned gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Remember, it is the return of Kat Macario for the FA Cup final. So keep an eye on that this weekend as well. And gossip, rumor, and innuendo as it's all played out. In the news that is there, it looks like Newcastle scouted Borussia Dortmund winger Jamie Gittins could also make a summer move for his teammate, Swiss goalkeeper Gregor Kobel. That's from the four-letter paper. Fulham's Tom Kearney is a target for Wrexham, set to be offered a deal worth $50,000 a week when he leaves on a free. We mentioned Florian Wirtz and Liverpool. Liverpool expects Wirtz to stay at Leverkusen or join Bayern Munich, but they're going to make an approach anyway to see if he will bite. Jamie Vardy's going to leave Leicester City this summer. No intention to retire. Believes he could still play in the Premier League. And it appears that the going away party for Jamie Vardy is going to be this weekend for the last home match. And don't know whether or not he will play in the season finale for Leicester. Fresh talks between Bayern and Dio Upamecano have begun over a new deal until 2030. Lazio are going to pay Arsenal €9 million to sign left-back Nuno Tavares in a loan deal with an option to buy. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Rasmus Højlund faces an uncertain future at Old Trafford, with Ruben Amorim having to sell players before he can buy. Arsenal search for a striker is focused on either RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko or Sporting's Victor Gyökeres. So Arsenal now in the Victor Gyökeres derby as it is laid out. So we thought that it might be Manchester United, but it might end up now that he's heading someplace else. In the championship, Hull have sacked Ruben Sayas despite avoiding relegation on the final day. So that is now wash, rinse, and repeat. Barca was crowned champs after a victory over 10-man Espanyol. So that happened yesterday. Ruben Diaz looking for a redemption in the FA Cup final. And remember, FA Cup final and the Premier League are this weekend. So keep an eye on all of that. We'll go over. I always do that. It's thetimes.co.uk, not Times. And whoever's got times.co.uk is squatting, and they are looking for a boatload of money to get from somebody. Let's see. What other stories do we have? Remember, it's the last weekend for Goodison Park, and so keep an eye on that. And apparently, let's see, where are we at here? Yes, Serena Williams, Alexis Ohanian took a stake in Chelsea's women, 8% at about £20 million. And there is a concern by Serena Wiegmann admitting to concerns over Lauren James' fitness. And Georgia Stanway has returned. Stanway, Hemp, and Greenwood return, having not played in England for 2025 in the pre-Euros universe, according to Kit Shepard over at the Times. 2035 Women's World Cup is being touted in the 48-team tournament as the biggest ever event for the UK. England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland are preparing for the tournament in 2035. New stadium developments, according to Martin Ziegler at the Times. New stadium developments in Manchester, Newcastle, Liverpool, Leeds, and Birmingham could lead the list of the 16 venues. FIFA's decision last week to expand it will now look to have 11 stadia in England, 2 in Scotland and Wales, and 1 Windsor Park in Northern Ireland. Organizers understood to be keen to use new or updated stadia if possible. Manchester United, Newcastle, Birmingham City have plans to build new grounds. Leeds revealing last week they intend to redevelop Elland Road. And then you also have Bramley Moore Dock as a strong contender. Wembley would host the final. FIFA is going to make the final decision around venues. Organizers have used a, quote, heat map, end quote, of interest in women's football in the UK as basis for the initial plans. Likely London will have 4, 3 in Yorkshire in the northwest, 2 in the Midlands, 1 in the northeast, and 1 in the south of England. 104 matches, 5.5 million tickets likely to be available. Hampton Park, one of the Scottish venues, with another possibility in Edinburgh. Cardiff's Principality Stadium is one of the Welsh venues, another possibly being Wrexham, depending on stadium development. FIFA hosting requirements that stadium must have a minimum capacity of 20. Expected several smaller stadia will be put forward where the less attractive matches can be played in order to maximize attendance. When England hosted the Women's Euros in 2021, 80% of all tickets sold. Mark Bullingham, FA's chief executive, said that while organizers welcomed having 48 teams, finding the right pricing would be critical to maximizing sales. We see it as a brilliant opportunity, according to Mark Bullingham at the FIFA Congress. 48-team World Cup means we get to have more parts of the country, more parts of home nations, and potentially have as many as 16 stadia. He said stadiums. I'm saying stadia. So that's what you're staring at there. I don't know if, and this is kind of something wild. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to hear this goal that was in the businessman special, for lack of a better word, at CHI Memorial Stadium in USL League One when Naples played Chattanooga Red Wolves. We'll play the goal, and I'll fill in the blanks. This was how Red Wolves solidified getting 3 points at home against FC Naples the other day, courtesy of USL League One, their own selves.
Cerro curls it in, fisted away. And now Bentley searches. Bentley on the move. Bentley still going. Tracked down momentarily. Open net. Bentley rolls it in. Chattanooga solidifies 3 points at home. And it's Matt Bentley. It's the finishing touches on this rain-soaked day. As we look back at our Rodriguez family dentistry replay, a persistent surge by Bentley, avoiding multiple defenders and all that.
And so Matt Bentley gets the goal that solidifies full points for Chattanooga. Go find the video of that goal and you can just do like a Chattanooga Red Wolves or a USL League One search. The field at CHI Memorial Stadium was a mud pit. Well, I mean, it was just brown. Torrential rains up in East Ridge created a field that had drainage issues. And if you got to basically the middle third and you tried to pass the ball on the ground through the middle third, the ball stopped. So as Matt Bentley is trying to work his way in transition away from his own goal, and he's probably 5 or 7 yards away from center line, and he's at full sprint, and he tries to give a lead pass to himself to continue his momentum. Ball basically stops. He runs into it, hits it as hard as humanly possible, hits the defender for Naples. It caroms back to Bentley. Bentley is slide tackling his way to try to keep possession and continue to push the ball forward into the attacking half. He won that battle too. Got up, and everyone had sold out trying to get an equalizer for Naples at this point. Even the keeper was forward, and everybody was forward. Transition happened quick, coming back the other way. So basically, Matt Bentley had an empty netter, and Chattanooga got the win. What you don't see is what happened after that was that you had 3 red cards to finish the match, 2 for Naples, 1 for Chattanooga. So keep an eye on the next matchups in USL League One with those 2 clubs. But go back, and they're usually available on YouTube. If you've got a couple of minutes, go back and dial up the highlights from Naples and Chattanooga Red Wolves. You will see just how much in trouble that field was. Game was a businessman special. You had young students in one section, so it was kind of like a student athlete thing and a businessman special noon kick. And it was just torrential downpours. So the drainage was being challenged, and it was just an adventure to try to move the ball forward. And it turned into literally the ball had brakes on it. So Public service announcement, go to YouTube, find the highlights for Chattanooga Red Wolves and FC Naples, and just see how bad the turf was and how Matt Bentley stuck with it to get the empty netter to solidify the win for Red Wolves. That's your public address announcement for the day. So go find that goal. It is probably a goal of the week nominee for an entirely different reason than you would think. Speaking of public service announcements, never meet at the outer rim to the right of Mercedes. So that's what they're trying to do so when Rich shows up, it'll be fun to see Rich when he comes down. Yes, beer does have water in it. That is absolutely true. And Will preparing the tailgate in Huntsville with the brisket. Absolutely, as you should. So before we get out of here, let's do what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it on your Saturday, and kind of push it in through your Sunday. Reminder, for those of you that were heading to the Fraction this weekend, the match with Crown Legacy has been postponed because of the field conditions at the Fraction. Fifth Third is in that process where they're trying to reseed, getting ready for American football season. And so the matchup this weekend, Sunday night, has been postponed. No makeup date yet announced. So if you were thinking of heading up on Sunday night to go see Atlanta United 2 and Crown Legacy, we would have had the broadcast on the network, but been postponed because of field conditions. It's a part of the reseeding over there at Fifth Third. So this weekend, we'll do today and maybe tomorrow when it comes to what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Villa and Spurs at 2:30 on USA Network. ESPN Plus, USL Championship, North Carolina, Oakland Roots at 7, El Paso and Indy at 9, Charlotte and 1 Knox at 7 o'clock. Paramount Plus, Walsall and Chesterfield, the playoff is at 3 o'clock. Peacock has Chelsea and Manchester United at 3:15. Women's side, it is Friday Night Football on Amazon Prime, NWSL Orlando and Kansas City. DAZN's French Premier League final, Lyon and PSG's at 3 o'clock. NWSL Plus, Racing Louisville, Seattle, Gotham FC, San Diego, both at 7:30. Houston and Portland's at 8. Peacock USL Super League, Lexington and Fort Lauderdale is at 6 o'clock. And just to let you know, tomorrow, BNB and Espanol have Ligue 1 at 3 o'clock. CBS Sports Network, bright and early, Celtic and St. Mirren. FS1 doubleheader, Hell is Real, Portland and Seattle. Fox Soccer Plus doubleheader in the Canadian Premier League, 5:30 and 8. BN and Espanol is Ligue 1 at 3 o'clock with 2 matchups. Fox Deportes, Serie A at 2:45. Peru Primera at 4:30. MLS doubleheader. Goal TV, Portuguese Primera, our buddy Nino Torres calling Sporting and Vitória Guimarães. All the matchups are at 1 o'clock. Uruguayan Primera, Peñarol and Torque at 7. Liga MX playoffs at 9. Toluca Tigres on TUDN. Simulcast on Univision. MLS Season Pass has all of your matchups in Major League Soccer. MLS Next Pro on Apple TV. OCB and Messi and Friends 2 at 7. Hunt City and Chattanooga FC. Big rivalry matchup, and that's why Will is making his brisket already at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on Apple TV and MLS Season Pass. ESPN Plus, Belgian Pro League, FA Cup Final, Crystal Palace, Manchester City at 11:20. German Bundesliga, everybody kicks off at 9:20. USL Championship, Hartford, Louisville at 7. Tampa Bay, Rhode Island, 7:30. Miami, Loudon, 7:30. Colorado Springs, Pittsburgh at 9. Orange County, New Mexico at 10, along with Sacramento and Vegas. USL League 1. Westchester and Madison's at 4. Portland, Naples at 5:30. Greenville and AV Alta is at 7. Texoma and Omaha is at 8. Paramount Plus, 7:30, bright and early. AFC Wimbledon, Notts County in the League 2 playoff. Serie A at 2:45. Scottish Premiership is at 7:30 in the morning. Women's side, Ion doubleheader in the NWSL. Washington, Utah, 7:30. Base and Angel City at 10. ESPN Plus, Northern Super League, Halifax and Toronto at 1. Golazo Network, NWSL at 5. North Carolina, Chicago. Paramount Plus simulcasting, and Peacock has Carolina, Tampa Bay in the USL Super League. If you do not have the BNs, if you do not have Gold TV, you ask, what can you do? Well, I will tell you what you can do. You can go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And what you can do is you get TIC, CDO, Nuestra Tele, For the Fans, Liga 1, Liga 1 Max Pro, all the BNs. Tigo Sports is a part of this, I think, as well. You can get all of the action in all of the leagues that they have. You can also get a window into watching Libertadores and Sudamericana, and you can follow along there at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out. Once again, before we get out of here, Olive in New York has your SDH jersey. Grady Baby Co. has your Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear. Proceeds helping out middle school programs attached to Atlanta Public Schools. SoccerDownHere.net has all your gear. You can, I think there's another day or so involved in the Kickstarter project with the Marshall Islands. You can get a scarf. You can order all the gear. All the gear comes from England. The scarf comes from me. I have to ship a scarf to Hong Kong. So, once again, we'll see everybody tomorrow. 7:40 kick for Philadelphia and Atlanta United at Mercedes-Benz. 6:30 is your pregame show on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. I believe it's Abe and Maddie. It's Abe and Maddie there. Also, NFHS Network has your final matches in the GHSA playoffs today in a couple of different venues as well. I believe it is Duluth and Macon Mercer today that you can catch up on your matchups, and you can have a fantastic time following the best that's there in high school soccer. And don't forget, at noon, in about 50 minutes, we're going to have Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live one more time this year. We're going to hear from Walton, LOA, Westminster, and hopefully Campbell, orthodontist permitting. So we'll have all of that going on coming up at noon. One final time, Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Thanks to all of you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Bart for trying to figure out how to get on the show, even if his computer and his audio setup are messed up. And so we'll, like I said, he's got 3 days to fix it before he comes back Monday at 10. So once again, thanks to all you folks for another great week here on SDH. Thanks to everybody who was with us. Thanks to Greg Garza, who hopped in this morning, and our friends at Beyond Goal. So from everybody here at SDH to all of you, see you Saturday. If we don't see you Saturday, we'll see you Monday back here. And because it is the end of the week, that means we do one final thing and just make sure that everything is cool, and we all are. Play it safe, everybody. Mucho plot, y'all, since it's the end of the show. We get to do this before we really do sign off here on a Friday. Enjoy, everybody.
On the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours, these.